Hey everyone, welcome back again. Today we're going to be looking at the new Wisp augment from the Deimos Arcana update. This is the Critical Surge Augment. You can pick this up from Cephalon Suda or New Loka once you're rank 4 or higher for 25k standing. This is an augment that affects her Breach Surge ability and buffs the critical chance of sniper rifles depending on how far you've teleported. Today we're going to focus on using this setup for Eidolon hunts to turn Wisp into a solid DPS option. If we were going to mod her for that, her DPS build would look like this. The focus of her abilities as DPS is the same as VS. We're focusing on her Reservoirs, her 1, as well as Breach Surge, her 3, being her augment's namesake. Her 1 gives her extra fire rate, movement speed, and health, whereas her 3 allows her to teleport to her moats. This is an instant teleport that has no range maximum and does not rely on any other of her stats. Because of this, the only stats we care about on her is her duration and her strength. Her range does not matter since her teleport has unlimited range, which will instantly put her inside of one of her moats. Her efficiency doesn't matter as well because the augment cuts her cast of her 3 in half, and her 1 doesn't cost much to start out with. So this way we can max out her duration and put the remaining into her strength. This is good because the augment only has a base 9-second duration. It's pretty hard to take advantage of this with just 9 seconds, so that's why we're running 306, which increases it out to 27.5. For a build, we're also going to slap on Vigorous Swap so that she gets a sizable base damage increase as she has no innately damage boosting abilities. You can always infuse on, say, Eclipse, Shock Trooper, Smite Infusion, or Roar. For our Arcanes today, we're going to be looking at Arcane Momentum first. Her moat only buffs the fire rate of weapons and movement speed, but not reload. Momentum will help us immensely here. As their augment only affects snipers, a sniper arcane would suit us perfectly. Our second arcane will be Arcane Energize so that you never have to worry about energy for casting your abilities. If this big ticket arcane is a bit too much for you, another option is Arcane Rage to help you in more damage department. Easily proccing on headshots, you can get more base damage for your sniper at any given moment. It has a very high proc duration, so this is very suitable in our rotations. Another choice is Arcane Acceleration if you want more fire rate, but honestly, her haste mode should be enough. So with this build, her Critical Surge will give her 24.3% critical chance for each 10 meters traveled. All this means is you need to travel less to get a max buff, as no matter how far you teleport, this bonus is capped out at 350%. We're focusing also on that increased duration so you can really appreciate having 20-something seconds on your buff. Now we're going to take a look at her sniper build. The best option for her would be Rubico, so this is what her build could look like. Compared to her the Volt DPS build, which you'll see right here, the only real difference here is we're dropping Point Strike for Primed Chamber and Vile Acceleration for Hammer Shot. This is because the augment is strong enough to let her hit guaranteed orange crits on a Rivenless build without Point Strike so long as you have a Harrow buff. Without Harrow, you're still sitting at around 170-180% crit chance, so it is a very solid choice. You will get all the fire rate that you need from her haste modes, so we opted for Hammer Shot here. You actually will get more from running Prime Cryo rounds, but that's going to run you up an extra Forma. So if you really want to min-max, then take that instead. As she carries no innate buffs, bringing Sarpa is a very wise decision. We will be using this for the Shattering Impact to strip the armor of the Eidolon. We can also bring Primed Fury, Gladiator Vice, and Quickening to speed up this process. I have Amalgam Organ Shatter on this build in case I accidentally use the heavy attack to make it end sooner. Tech Gravity is on there to suck in the bombs if I choose to use that passive. Modus Impact is slotted on for anti-knockdown resistance if we happen to be in the air. Finally, I have my Riven, which is completely unnecessary, but gives us even more attack speed. For our companion today, I'm going to bring Worm for our Synth mod bonus, which lets us reload our sniper even while it's holstered. Then for its weapon, we're going to slap on all of the 4 Vigilante mods. Vigilante Supplies, Vigilante Offense, Vigilante Fervor, and Vigilante Armaments. This will increase the Vigilante set bonus, which can push up our sniper shots a full crit tier. It basically acts like extra critical chance and costs you absolutely nothing to use. So now let's see how this augment works. I'm going to mark this spot over here and you can see it's about 14 meters away. This is all we need with the amount of strength we're running on the build to max out the buff. So if I move over to that waypoint and cast my Breach Surge, I will teleport straight to my moat. And you can see there I get the capped 350% bonus. Another cool thing about this ability is it's refreshable. Every single time you TP to your moat, it will reset your buff to its max duration. This way you don't have to worry about waiting for the buff to run out before you can recast. So now let's throw this for a damage test. I've already built the sniper up to 3.5x combo beforehand, so you're going to see how it affects it here. I'm going to cast my moat on the side and teleport it about 14 meters away. Now let's take a shot at our level 110 Drakkar Manic Bombards. You can see here I'm pretty much hitting only orange and red crits, or mostly red crits, and it just completely deletes them. I don't even have a damage buffing ability on, so you can imagine what a Rubico with Eclipse, Roar, Smite, or Shock Trooper could do. Now there's another build I can use here that doesn't focus on the max duration. The max duration setup is so that you can make the ability last 2 limb rotations. You cast it towards the end of the spike, letting you set up for the limb break, and then it would last you through the next limb break as well, meaning you don't have to cast it again until you juggle the Eidolon back to the same spot. But if you don't want to deal with having to cast the ability after the spike before you break the limb, then you can cast it every single limb break instead. And we would use a slightly different build for this, but it would allow you to cast the ability immediately after you break the limb to head to the next spot earlier. We're sacrificing a little bit of duration, and this way we can fit on primed flow for that increased energy cap to take full advantage of preparation unlike before, and stacking a little bit more strength with transient fortitude. This will increase the flight speed bonus on your archwing as well as the fire rate of your weapon slightly, and also decrease the amount of distance we need to travel to max out her Breach Surge buff. It only drops it down from 14 meters to 11 meters, so it isn't really that much of a difference, but I guess it gives you a tiny bit more leeway when you cast it. You can probably even forego it and run acceleration instead. I don't think you'll notice a huge difference here, but it basically performs the exact same. We're at 3.5x combo just like before, and you'll see they're dying in about 2 or 3 shots. Remember, this is a 0 CP simulation. In a full squad, you'll have 4 CPs for the tier list, as well as a hero buff, and possibly even helmet abilities you chose to infuse on. So now let's see how this handles on other snipers. Next up, we're going to look at Vectis here. Primed cryo rounds would fit into this slot, it just doesn't fit in my polarity, so I can't really show you exactly how the final damage output would look like here. But Vectis is another weapon that you can completely forgo point strike on, as you'll easily surpass 100% crit chance with just her augment, and combining hero you're closing in on guaranteed oranges. So you'll see I'm missing a mod here, and I can still shred these enemies in a couple of shots without having any combo built up at the start. This makes Vectis a very strong contender for using this augment. The next sniper we're going to look at is obviously my fan favorite, Vulkar. Remember that Vulkar is a Riven only weapon. If you're using it Rivenless, it feels very poorly and I would strongly advise against it. So this build assumes a critical chance Riven is there. Doing this lets us completely remove point strike from the equation, and you can substitute it out for Stormbringer. So this is basically the exact same of the Vault version of Vulkar, just that you remove point strike so that you can create radiation instead. However, unlike Volt, Wisp also provides a fire rate buff, and it's not just that critical chance we're compensating with the augment. You can see here the power of a lasting purity primed chamber build, completely deleting the enemies even though we didn't have combo at the start. Once it's built up, it's easily two-shotting your enemies. The last sniper on our list today is Lanka. I would not advise using a projectile sniper and hunts in the modern day setting, but if you did, it would probably look like this. I would recommend running heavy caliber if you don't have a Riven for this slot, as Lanka is the least affected out of all the snipers when you run it. So let's go test this thing. Even with 0 combo, you'll see it deletes the enemies in 2 to 3 shots. It's extremely powerful and reminds us of why Lanka sits at the top. If only it wasn't a projectile weapon, it would probably still be part of the general meta. As Wisp brings so much to the table now with this new augment, it makes rivenless builds even more viable for the Lanka, Vectis, and Rubico. I still would not recommend it for the Vulkar, but it is exciting to see that there are more frames now than just Volt that can go the rivenless route with snipers and have a good shot. Well, that's it for this video. Tell me in the comments what you think of this new augment for Wisp. See you all next time.